Welcome back to my van renovation series. I'm filming my renovation process to share tips and advice to anyone looking to self-convert their own van into a beautiful, low-budget tiny home or RV. This video shares the very first things that I did after completely gutting my van, which includes how to install a subfloor, how I installed my wheel well boxes, and a few tips for putting up wall studs. Alright, so we're going to get started off with the subfloor installation. Usually people install their subfloor after they put the insulation down, but my van already had some sort of material underneath the carpet, so I skipped that step. However, there were still two sections that needed filled in, so I had to work on that before I could lay down the floor. I used caulk to fill in the bolt holes. It was really cold out, so I used a heat gun to dry the caulk before laying down my other material. It's really important to let the caulk dry because depending on what material you lay down on top, the caulk has the potential of melting whatever you're using. Also, the material I used isn't actually insulation. My dad is a carpenter and he had leftover material from a previous job, so I just repurposed that. Once you're ready to start installing the subfloor, you'll need to measure the length and width along with any obstruction measurements like the wheels, wall ribs, or thick cables that come out of the floor. It's a good idea to get all of these measurements at once and then cut instead of running back and forth like I did. Take all of your measurements and use a pencil to draw guidelines for any sections that will need cuts. I used a cordless saw and a jigsaw to make most of my cuts, but I definitely recommend using a table saw for any longer cuts because they will come out more clean and straight, but it's not a necessity by any means. Also, when you make your cuts, always have the pretty side you want to use facing down and the side with more imperfections facing up because the saw will chip the top edge. As with the table saw cuts, this isn't 100% necessary for the subfloor because it will be covered up with the final flooring, but this is your time to practice and get into the habit for your future steps. Once your wood is cut and fits the way that you want, it's time to lay it down. I used leftover floor adhesive from a previous project and used a trowel to spread it out.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I just...
Get on your edge. Use your edge. The teeth edge. Other edge.
This one?
Come here.
This one?
Get right here.
Okay.
Usually use your teeth, so you got the high and low, and it makes hills, spread it out.
I don't know why you expected me to know right away. Okay. Alright, I got it.
You have to go not this way, you're going to leave too much. You're going to have to walk down the hills.
Oh, okay, I see.
I try not to get it all over my trowel, my handle. Try to take time. Use your stick to get out if you want.
Alright.
After all of the adhesive was spread out, I laid down my wood and started to screw it down. My floor has ribs, so I screwed down into all of the high spots to stay consistent and prevent any dips. The entire floor should be completely even. Also, I used a countersink bit to pre-drill before screwing down. This allows the screw to go down into the wood, creating a flat surface, versus the head laying on top of the wood. Once you put your first piece down, you go through the same process for the rest of your floor. Measure, cut, spread adhesive, lay down the floor, screw, and repeat. After my subfloor was complete, I started installing my wheel well boxes. This option may not be necessary for you depending on your layout, but my plan was to have these boxes support my bed frame. This task required more brain work and planning than actual work because I had to decide where I wanted my bed to go. Originally, I wanted to push it all the way to the back end of the van, but my HVAC system was in the way, so I decided to change plans and put the bed directly in the center of the windows.
Okay, so I made my cuts for my top pieces. I made a little hole right there so that way I could get past this. And then I made my bottom piece. Obviously my floor wasn't cut very straight, but it's not going to matter because my tongue and groove floor is going to go over it. And then over here I kind of did just the same thing. I used the same piece over there to cut out the same piece. With that wall right here, I could put a shelf or something if I need to. I don't know what's gonna go right there, but I'm gonna keep this here unless I need to cut it off at some point. But one thing that was in my way was this thing. I don't know if I showed you guys. You can probably see in like an earlier clip in this video that right here there was something connecting to the support. So even after I unscrewed it, I couldn't pull it back because it was too tough. So my dad came in here with the tool and he cut this. I didn't do it. So yeah, I don't know if you'll run into that problem, but if I didn't cut that off, it was like sticking out. It was sticking up here, and I wouldn't have been able to lay it flat. I'm not gonna put anything on the bottom here, even though there's this gap. I'm just going to screw it in the top, and then once the tongue and groove floor comes in here, then I'm gonna have it come up really close to this, and then the other side will be pushing up against this wheel well. So I suppose it's time for me to screw some things in before I make my sides. Okay, so on this side I put screws in every 6 inches about, and I used this piece right here to make a pilot hole before I screwed these in, so that way the wood wouldn't split when I put it in. And then as for the part that will go into this frame, you don't have to put the pilot holes in there. You can just screw directly in using self-tapping screws. But my dad just told me that it's a good practice to use wood glue, and that also might stop the squeaking. So I don't know if we're gonna do that like that on the other side, but this is how I'm doing it on this side because it's already done. Alright, I ended up doing the exact same method I did on that side. On this side, I didn't end up using the wood glue. And I also put an end piece on here. I think I already told you guys I just kept this like this in case I wanted to use this as like storage. And then I don't really know how I'm going to do it yet. But if I don't need it, I'm just going to cut it off. But anyway, I put the end on here, and it's not really square. I'm probably going to cut it off with a jigsaw so that way it looks like it's square. But, you know, a van is not perfectly square everywhere, so that'll happen. Alright, so me and my dad put some studs in here. What I learned so far is that you're going to want to put one all the way across here, and you're going to want the depth to be the same on each section. And we screwed in to the parts that are coming down here. So it's screwed in right there, screwed in right here, screwed in right here. These are screwed up, which is actually pretty difficult to do it diagonal. My dad did these ones, and then I did these ones, which aren't really as pretty. But yeah, you're gonna want to make sure that all of these parts are the same distance. Right there, and then down towards the bottom you're going to want them to be the same distance, and you're going to have to measure from the same point. So I used this and I measured out and made sure that they were all the same distance. And then this, once we put, so the insulation is going to go on here, and then these nails don't really look too good, but you know, whatever. I pulled all of my cabling through here because I don't know if I'm going to want to reuse these light cables. So I just pulled them through here, and then when we put the back of the closet area on, then there's going to be a box so I can access all of the fuses and then use these if I want, and then I can just extend the wires. And yeah. Hi, kitty. Oh, you're so cute. You're so cute. You are so cute. Alright, so I didn't really show you guys the rest of me putting these studs on the walls. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I didn't really do it myself. My dad did it, and he was trying to tell me how he was doing it, but I didn't even really understand him, so I felt like this is just something that was going to be too hard to show you guys on camera. But for a process update, I got the studs in today, and I spray painted the window that is going to go behind the closet, and I didn't really finish anything else today because I'm waiting for that to dry, and then after that dries, I'm going to insulate the van. And also, before I finish insulating the van, I need to put my vent fan in.
Thank you so much for watching my van renovation journey. I hope that this video inspires you to start your own project, or at least shows you what not to do. I'll admit it's pretty difficult to look at my completely stripped down van and compare it to its original state. I really hope that I can make this thing look as beautiful as the picture in my head. But that's as far as I'm going to let those thoughts go, because I need to focus on one task at a time, take it one day at a time, and hope that this all comes together beautifully. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.